Miss Lady.
Welcome.
These are our cutouts for the first round tomorrow for the draft. We're gonna have these all throughout the room. We're not sure where we'll be. Never lose your sense of humor, Dave. Are we going?
They're very focused.
Yeah, are we going?
Serious.
Yeah, we'll open it up with John Schneider with an opening statement.
Yeah. Before we, get into the questions, just wanted to say, starting off, we haven't spoke to you guys in a long time. Usually we have the combine, and that's an opportunity for Pete and I to get with everybody and talk about the future and where we're headed and recap last year. Before we do that, I just wanted to personally mention for the organization, on behalf of Jody and Pete, Coach Holmgren, all the people that were close to Ted Thompson, his passing several months ago. Very, very close friend of mine, mentor, starting out in Green Bay. He was here. He traded for Matt Hasselbeck. He drafted Steve Hutchinson, who's going into the Hall of Fame. Alexander. Just Sean Alexander. A lot of really, really good players. I can't rip through them all. Obviously, coming to Green Bay then and drafting Aaron Rodgers, and he's gonna be sorely missed by the scouting community. Be personally missed as a friend. Our hearts go out to everybody in Green Bay, everybody that knew him here, and just everybody around the league that knew Ted as a really, really good person. And moving on from that, just wanted to really say thank you. Last year was a really, really tough year during the season, really productive season for us. The leadership was unbelievable in the COVID season, from Jody, Chuck Arnold, Sam Ramsden, and Matt Thomas keeping us compliant, and then obviously Pete's involvement in the coaching staff and all the staffs, Chuck Arnold. Everybody did a great job, and especially the players, really, when you think about it, not having any positive tests for active players. The guys just did a great job with it, and we won 12 games, and unfortunately it comes to an end the way it did against the Rams, and that at that point we moved forward, and we haven't stopped since. So we're getting ready for our 12th draft this coming weekend. We have an amazing number of draft choices, 3, and we're the guys have been busting their tail. It's been a unique year. Really proud of Matt Berry and Trent Kirshner, Aaron Heinlein, the whole staff, everybody that's involved in this. Without having a first round draft pick, it's always difficult for guys to dive in and focus. But they've done a great job. We've had great meetings the last several weeks. We're really happy to be able to be in the draft room this weekend and be together. Yeah, we're looking for it. We're looking ready. We're getting ready for an exciting draft. Tomorrow night's going to be really interesting without a pick. But yeah, we're ready to roll. We're excited about the future. We're excited about what we did in free agency, and now we're going to continue to keep building our team. And this is just one avenue. So, anything you want to add, Pete?
Yeah, I would say about the draft. Our number one pick is Jamal Adams. That's a heck of a pick. He had a really good year leading into his getting drafted by us number one, and it would have cost us another number one to get that done. That incredible of a football player as we saw last year, and we're thrilled about the future with him too. So that I think, and I know right back when the conversation came up and the possibilities of all this happened, John was already making reference to this draft and understanding what it was going to be like, and we made a major decision to go ahead and do that, and with all of that information, in our back pocket. So we're excited about the whole thing and looking forward to the process of it. Just in the first round, you might see the two of us not in our seats.
All right, let's open it up for questions. Jen Mueller, lead us off.
Well, John, you mentioned those 3 picks there and the fact that you were preparing for this draft even last year. What percentage of the team's needs do you think you fully addressed in free agency going into tomorrow?
Well, it's a great question, Jen. We really don't ever feel like it stops here. We're constantly trying to build this team all the way through. So to say that we feel good about the things we've done. Obviously, being able to retain some of our own guys, adding the players that we added in free agency, but it's really a never-ending quest all the way until the next Super Bowl. So we're never complacent in at any position, quite frankly.
John Boyle.
Pete, you talked at the end of the season about wanting to try to keep the pass rush together, to get Dunlap back, to re-sign Benson, and then add Kerry Hyder on top of that. Just with the way that group improved throughout the season, how excited are you about what you did?
Yeah, we made as good a jump as anybody made during the season in improving, from where we were in the first half with our pass rush. And it took some time for guys to come together. And it was really obvious that Carlos was a big factor in that. Not just his rushing, but the factor that people had to pay attention to him. They had to, give him some help in that way. It helped other guys. And so for us to come back and get Carlos, it was a great accomplishment for us. And Benson, as you mentioned, that's a really big deal. Kerry Hyder had a really good year in our division last year, 8 sacks, and was a big factor. So we love that we add him too, and we're still going. There's a lot of things coming back to this pass rush. The return, for Darrell Taylor to be a factor in that, the emergence of Alton Robinson. Those are really positive factors for us, and we're not done yet. We're still working it. So it's been a really nice job by John and his guys.
Corbin Smith, before you ask the question, do you want to give us your Social Security number?
Funny. Hey, Pete and John, how you guys doing?
How you doing, buddy?
Good. Obviously, DJ Reed played really well at the end of the season on the outside for you guys. Maybe changes a little bit the way that you guys evaluate the cornerback position. So my question is, going into this draft process, especially with only 3 picks, has the fact he played so well maybe changed the dynamic, expanded your draft board at that position a little bit?
Yeah. Let me take that one. First off, DJ really emerged as a really good ball player for us, and we were surprised, that he would be available. And again, that was one of the picks I just loved that John figured it out, that he might be available in the way that he was. We got him, and we had to wait it out for weeks, for him to get healthy and all. Remember, he started out playing nickelback first couple times out, and then he got a chance to play, and as he got comfortable with the position, he really finished strong. So he really helped us a lot, and that was a real pleasant surprise that happened during the season. But that helps us coming back for sure, and we've made a couple moves here also to help make it a very competitive situation, and that's always what we want to get done here.
Michael Sean Dugar.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, Pete, what were the philosophical differences you had with Bryant?
Brian Schottenheimer?
Yeah, that were mentioned in the press release. It's a while ago, but yeah, cited philosophical differences.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be real specific about that for a million reasons, but sometimes you just got to make a change. You got to make your moves, and you got to do what you need to do it's never one issue or one situation. There's a lot of stuff. But I was really concerned about continuing to grow and expand and get better and find our ways to utilize our personnel, and I just felt like that's what we needed to do at the time, and so I'll leave it at that.
Thanks.
Sure.
Brady Henderson.
Hey guys, good to talk with you. Pete, what was your reaction when you heard Russell Wilson voice his frustrations?
Well, he wasn't any more frustrated than I was. I know that. Well, after watching the Super Bowl, I know he was asked the questions and he responded that he's frustrated. Well, we all are. When we don't win the last game of the year, particularly when we were at home and positioned in the playoffs and had a chance, we felt like we had a really good opportunity being health in our favor as well. It was hard, and so I think that's a pretty normal reaction to be frustrated.
Can let me add to that, Brady. Coaches and players are so close to the fire throughout the season. They're in every game from game to game. The game plan's going on. They don't have the luxury that myself or other people have to call it general managers or personnel people or presidents of organizations to sit back, owners to sit back and really kind of see the big picture. They're locked in every single week. And so when that final game happens, and we've been blessed to be, these guys have done a great job of, being in the playoffs. And the last several years we've lost in the playoffs, okay? So that your season comes to an end, drastically, right? Minutes, right? It just happens very quickly. And, Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson are two most passionate and competitive people that I know. And, passionate people just say passionate things. And, I think that I think it just kind of came out.
And one follow-up to that, Pete, what kind of conversations have you had with Russell, and where do you feel like his head is at now compared to a couple months ago when he said what he said?
Yeah, we have had as many conversations as we've ever had. We've talked extensively throughout the off season. There was never a time time went by where we weren't talking in communication. We've been close for years around here, and nothing changed with that. We worked our way through whatever was at hand at the time. We realized it was really obvious that how a comment, a frustration comment, can turn into so much follow up, I think the speculation in the media was really an obvious factor in how his words were portrayed. And also, we don't always say the right thing. We don't always do the right thing. And so what I do is whenever things come out, whether it was Russell or anybody else I've ever dealt with in our team that's of a high-profile player in high-profile situations, we address all of it immediately. And he knows exactly where I was coming from. And I told him early on, that this could be really, a long issue that we're dealing with in the media, and I wasn't going to say a word because I knew what the truth was, and we had communicated clearly. I knew right where Russ was coming from, and unfortunately for the people who were following it from the reading the articles and whatever the people were saying, you didn't have the benefit of what I knew and what Russ knew, and so I've never have played to those kinds of situations and tried to smooth them out or deal with them or whatever. Just as long as I know the truth, I have the power to know that, and I felt fine about it. I just knew it was uncomfortable, and there was some stuff that that was said that had to be dealt with, and it has been. So Russ is in a great place right now. He's been in a great place throughout the offseason. We have communicated throughout all of the things that go on, just like I always have. This is not any different than it's ever been. It's the same way we've always communicated, and I've always utilized all of the players that had information for me. If anybody had an insight that would help me figure out something or know a little bit something more about a situation, I've felt free to call my guys, and I've always been like that. And Russ has been a guy that I've always talked to about stuff. So nothing's changed. And right now he is as jacked up as he's ever been. He's in the process of turning over our new offensive stuff that is different from the past, and things that we need to learn. He's totally after it, doing a great job. His mentality is strong, and his conditioning is right. He's doing a great job. And so things are said, and sometimes you have to deal with stuff, and that's how we take care of our business. And we're in a fantastic place right now, and really excited about this team and this season and this draft coming up and all of that. And a little bit frustrated that we're not able to do our football in the off season right now. We're in a Zoom mode and in a virtual mode right now, but that's just the way it is. And so we'll make the most of it and compete to make it the best.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bob Condotta.
Yeah, John, just one more on Russell. There was a specific report that you talked to the Chicago Bears about a trade with Russell. Just can you confirm, I guess, did that happen, or were there legitimate trade talks with Russell that got close with anybody?
There was a number of teams that called after that media blitz that happened, right? But no, I never actively negotiated with anybody, and with any team. Now, did people call? Absolutely. And but yeah, I'm not going to get into specific teams, but yeah, there was never ever a conversation. People think that trade talks happen, like, hey, you just start negotiating right away. There's a lot of calls that are very, very periphery calls, and unless you're dealing with like trading a 7th round player for or a 7th round pick for a player that may be getting cut that's going to be on the wire or something like that, and those happen very quickly. But no, there was no active negotiations going on.
Ed Werder.
Muted.
Guys, thank you for taking a few minutes here. Wondering, based on everything you've just talked about, to what extent do you feel like Russell's committed long-term to the Seahawks, and that the Seahawks are committed long-term to Russell being the starting quarterback?
Well, what I would say to you about that, Ed, is that Russ has been our quarterback for a good while, and we've got a long contract with him. And when all of the conversation went about trades and all that, I knew what the truth was. We weren't trading Russell. And so, so we plan on him being here for a good while. I don't know how many years it is now, but we're in great shape, and a long future ahead of us is shared. Russ knows that, and I know that, and we're very clear about it. It's why it was really obvious that we just had to sit back and let the kind of the media take its course with the topic, and so we did. And so we're in good shape, and both very clear about that.
Yeah, you definitely learn a lot from listening, Ed, just sitting back and listening to everybody, whether it's from other teams or, what's happening in the media. And I'm really proud of everybody in the organization for basically just staying the course, staying quiet. And, another real great lesson I learned from Ted Thompson, right? You would know, Ed.
Tim Booth.
Hey guys, does Russell have any rifts that need to be rebuilt, either within the locker room or within the front office, based around the comments he made from your view?
There's always questions because people believe a lot what you guys write, and so there's stuff that has to be kind of dealt with in one way or another. Always, constantly, it's like that. And we always try to give a brother some slack, because when you say stuff that doesn't always represent exactly how you feel, and so we have to always be open-minded to talk to the guys and talk things through, and that is ongoing in around a club like this, and so there's conversations that are always that are having to be made, but our guys are taking care of their business, and they're communicating well, and everything's going fine. We don't have any issues at all.
Art Teal.
Pete, did Russell
What's up,
violate...
Art?
Greetings.
Gosh, I really missed you, Art. I didn't realize how much I missed you till this very moment. It's
Really?
good to see you.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same.
I'm so sorry. I didn't expect you to.
Did Russell violate your prime directive to protect the team? And if not, why not?
No, I think that the conversation being out there for so long, it makes it a challenge to us, and there's a time when, we violate and you go too far in any of the guidelines that we set. And I think in this case, rule number one is challenged. The conversation is out there that we wish we didn't have to be sharing with the world, and all of that. And you never get to the clarity of the essence of it, when you have to operate through the media. That's why we try to go really quiet and all of that. It's really easy for me to be clear with the players when issues come up, and I was really clear with Russ. I was really clear with anybody that gets in a situation where there's a conversation outside of the direct conversation that we're having, and the subject matter teetered on that topic for sure, or because it looked like there was a problem, but there really wasn't a problem, and I think that we're very clear about it now.
But when you say there wasn't a problem, clearly this his media.
It's a media problem, Art. It wasn't a problem for us because we knew the truth, and we were in conversation to talk about stuff, and so. Because it's in the media, there are things that we need to address with players and friends and stuff like that. We have to talk through stuff, and that's just a normal course, and it's nothing to be blamed on the media. It's just you guys just speculated the way you could, did the best you could with it, and hold no grudges with that at all. But there are conversations to clarify where you're coming from, so that everybody's on the same page, and that's. If that hasn't taken place in any particular instance, it will. And for the most part, everything is very clear and very upfront, and with no issues.
So there wasn't any big disruption to your off-season dealings and plannings because of this issue?
No, there wasn't any. Every year has its issues and all that. This took the shape of the quarterback and trades and all these global type of conversations that never happened, between the clubs and all that kind of stuff. So as long as we're communicating really well, we're fine. And that's exactly how we progress. Like John said, we're really proud of the organization for holding together and supporting one another. And we all did that. Coaches to players, players to coaches, and through the administration.
We've dealt with a lot of drama now, right?
Well, isn't it Maple Bars to Marshawn or something?
Yeah, Maple Bars to Marshawn is what we were talking about this morning with Dave.
So we've been through a lot of stuff. So
yeah,
it's not like our first go round. We've been through a lot of stuff. So
Larry Stone.
Hi guys. One of the things Russell said was that he'd like more input in personnel decisions. Was there any change in that regard?
No, because Russ and I have been in conversation about stuff that I think might be defined as that, in that we're talking about stuff, he's been here 10 years or whatever the heck it is, so we've had a lot of conversations. But I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of guys. I talk to guys all the time, and I want information. I'm not trying to think, I'm not standing here like I have all the answers. I want all of the input I can get to make the decisions that I make. So Russell's been through a lot with us, and he's got a good perspective. He doesn't have all the answers at all. He has his opinions at times, and I'm fine with dealing with that. Just like I was with other players that have been here in the past. It's not any different. So, but he never made a statement that he had to do that or he had to have more say so. That never happened. None of that happened. We never talked like that.
Joe Fan.
Joe, hang on a second. We can't hear you.
Can't really hear you. Hang on real quick. We can't really hear you.
Is it better?
There you go.
Things crescendoed with Russ, at least in the media, when his agent shared 4 teams that he'd be willing to be traded to with Adam Schefter. Schefter then tweeted out, blows up from there, and the Bears story goes on from there, and that's kind of how it gets going downhill. I'm curious what your reaction was to that when you saw that list of 4 teams.
Well, I would just say that to basically extend on what Pete was saying earlier to further that is that Pete was in direct contact with Russell the whole time through, and I was in contact with Russell's agent. So that was those are conversations that stay in house, and we protect those conversations, and I hope you respect that.
What I would say about that, Joe, is that I had made a clear statement to Russ. Let's just shut down and be quiet on this stuff. We don't need to say anything. We know the truth of what's going on. When that came out, that kind of got over the top, and that it opened up some other conversation that we didn't need to happen. And that was an example of why we're quiet and why we don't say anything. And so. It was so meaningless because it had nothing to do with what was going on. So it was just kind of gave another little, bite in there that people could talk about, and that I wish we would have avoided that. Is what I'm saying.
And then, John, I don't know if you're able to, but is there any potential update you can share on where you're at with Jamal Adams? Are you guys potentially working on an extension? Do you still view him as a long-term piece of your defense?
Absolutely. We're going to be celebrating Jamal tomorrow evening, right? I mean, we want him to be here long term for sure. He's a great player. Really glad we made the trade to get him, and he's going to be a very important part of our future.
Has he given you any indication whether or not he'll play on his 5th-year option?
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Has he given you any indication whether or not he'll play on his 5th-year option?
No, we're not. We're not into that yet. No.
Matt Calkins.
Hey, John. Hey, Pete. I have a question about two-part question, actually, about Aldon Smith. First, just you guys can give us a reaction to the latest allegation. And the second part is he has kind of a long history with, brush-ups with the law and domestic violence. charge that was ultimately pleaded down. So I'm curious to see just what your research on him indicated and why you eventually decided that this guy was okay for your football team.
Well, the research basically was that he was working out down in Los Angeles. We had people last year, people that were with him all the time, and we were interested last year, and Dallas basically outbid several other teams, and he was comfortable going there. Had coaches on the staff that knew him. They felt like they had a really good plan in place for him. In terms of his current situation, that's not something we can talk about. We have to let the legal process take its course. And then, with the domestic violence portion, what I would say is, and I know you wrote about this specifically, when and I've learned a lot about throwing out blanket statements about these sort of things, whether it's DUIs or robberies or domestic situations. And so right when we got here, I threw out a statement about it. And what I've learned over the years now is that every situation is completely different, and you have to study every situation and be comfortable with your decisions. We researched it with Alden this last time. It was a minimum salary deal, and we decided to take a shot and go for it.
Greg Bell.
Hi again, guys. See ya. Is with the Russell Wilson situation, you got a lot of young kids now on the roster that weren't here even 3 years ago, and they're all on Instagram and social media and Snapchat. Is there a tangible fallout that Russ needs to address in the locker room as a team captain with those guys? And that perception sometimes might be reality. They may know how the inner workings Pete, that you talked about that you and Russ knew.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying, Greg, that there's perception and stuff, and guys are wondering, what's up and, what's going on. Is there something happening and all of that? In this environment where we're not together, it's a little bit more difficult, to connect with people. But through the process of our time together and the work that we put in and the hours that we're putting in now, and we'll accumulate plenty of opportunities for guys to be really clear and really on the same page, and if they have any questions or whatever, things will be proven otherwise. Russell is one of the great competitors and guys that applies himself to his work as obviously as anybody ever has, and through all of the process, the guys are, everybody's going to get to know each other and all of that. But that is what's going on this time of year for the new guys that come in, and for the older relationships, those have their way of working their things out as well. So we're going to be really straight up and straightforward and clear about it, and not panic and not think that there's any crazy things that we need. There's nothing that we need to do other than we need to go back to work, look each other in the eye, be straight up and accountable to one another, and do what it takes to get that done. And that's the process that's going to take care of whatever issues that might have arisen.
And John, as a follow-up, for this draft in particular, you mentioned how peculiar this is. And guys didn't even play, some took the year off, some opted out, some seasons got canceled. How much was that a part of your thinking of trading from having 8 picks down to 3, that of all drafts maybe to go light on? I mean, you still may deal with this, but of all drafts maybe to go lighter on, you just haven't had the opportunity to evaluate, even the medicals. You just haven't had the opportunity.
There's no question. It's been a unique year. It definitely came into the equation. It was part of the equation with Jamal last summer as we were reviewing and trying to project, reviewing the juniors that were going to be seniors, right, and then trying to project what the fall was going to look like. So working with the Jets and Joe Douglas, it just became apparent that if there was a chance to go for it, this was probably the year to go for it. This draft is no different than others. Greg, you've been around for a while with the guys, the younger people that haven't been around us. We evaluate for our team. We don't evaluate for the league. I think it's something to just as a refresher for people when you see specific names being thrown out, and this guy's supposed to go here and that guy's supposed to go there, and this was a great pick and that's a bad pick. We recognize that it's entertainment and all the way through, but we have to do what's best for the organization all the time. And we pride ourselves on not having all the answers and not being the smartest people in the room. We spent time with the Cubs staff several years ago, and it was just really refreshing that they had that same philosophy. So when you look at this draft in particular, we had to say to ourselves, what kind of answers are we gonna, what kind of questions are we gonna have answered by the time we get to next spring? What's that gonna look like? And things just felt too hazy. And so we just made an organizational decision, and Jody was great. She was super supportive with it and about it, and obviously Pete and the staff. I mean, everybody was super excited to be able to acquire Jamal.
Just in support to the thought there that I think was kind of interesting. I thought how we looked at the draft coming up way back when for the Jamal trade that came about. I mean, that took a lot of insight to understand what was going to be at stake at this time of year, but it also led us into the moves that we made and to get prepared, and the free agency things that we've done to fortify our team. We're not going into the draft with great needs and big spaces that we need to fill and all of that, because the work that the personnel department put together to get our guys in positions to situate the roster so we're in a really good place, and we feel really good about that right now. So hopefully we'll get some help and all that. But if you can imagine, a draft pick right now, the number one pick right now, played for us last year. That's freaking great, and he had a terrific football season, and he's going to play for us this year as a legit starter. I mean, it's an enormous pick that we gain value, and I'm just thrilled that Jamal's part of our team, and he's going to get way better too. He's going to improve a tremendous amount, and so it's going to be really exciting to watch how that goes down the road.
Greg, it was a hard year. I mean, it really was. The scouts did a great job. Getting out there and doing whatever they could to really learn the people as much as they possibly could and use all their connections and their resources. And it's a little bit of an inside joke, but for our friends down in San Francisco, but that we compete with all the time. But we actually attended 100, not to one up them, but we actually attended 176 college games and practices. We conducted 401 Zoom calls. We interviewed 601 players, and we attended 129 separate pro days. So that's just for our good friend John. It's just a little inside jab, kind of fun stuff.
Good job keeping track of all of it by each.
Well, I had to pull it up on the tweet.
Masvita.
Gentlemen, thank you. I'll start with Pete, and John, you can chime in. Hey, Pete, what's been the Sean Waldron effect, kind of the onboarding, getting to know him knowing the Seahawks way, and how that going into the draft, what that's been like and his effect?
Yeah, Shane has done a marvelous job of jumping right in. We're almost 2 weeks into completing our first virtual go-rounds here, and that's when Shane's had his first chance to really get to the players. The time spent with the coaches, the time spent in the process of getting here has only been accentuated by his fluent way of dealing with the communication part of the teaching and the learning that has to take place now. He's been really, really impressive, and so it's he's already deep in with the quarterbacks, of course, but he had to get through the coaching staff first, and it's been a joy to watch. He's got a great brain on him about this game of football and how our system fits together and works together and the communications of it. But that's part of it. And the real crucial part is, can you convey it? And so we'll see. We have to get on the field and all that kind of stuff. But to see how fluent he is and how agile he is in the way he deals with the information and the transference of that, it's really been impressive. And so I couldn't be more excited about it. And we're able to find the strengths that we've had in the past and things that we've done really well, and they're all incorporated into the new format that we're unveiling, and so I've been around a lot of coordinators and a lot of games and a lot of off seasons and all, and I'm as impressed with this process as much as I've ever been and as excited as I've ever been. So I really feel like he's got it in command, and so it's really fun to watch.
Quick follow-up to that. You said he started with the quarterbacks. Has he started with the running backs yet?
Oh, he's coaching everybody. They're all going. All the staff is working together, but he has to send the lead message. He does a really nice job of making sure that his sense and the essence of what is coming across can be conveyed, and then the coaching staff takes off from there. So it's a really clear message, and we're really hoping it's going to really accentuate our ability to execute and perform.
Thanks.
Brady?
Hey, Pete, when you hired Brian Schottenheimer in 2018, if I remember correctly, you said you didn't feel like it would be right to start over offensively, and there was thus a lot of carryover from what you were already doing. How much are you willing to do that now with Shane, and how much of your offense will be what you were already doing versus what Shane is bringing in?
Yeah, what I'm saying to you, Brady, we have established stuff that Russ is really good at. Chris Carson is really good at, and DK and Tyler, that they've demonstrated to us that they've got strengths and that have been accentuated in the past that we need to continue to build from, and so that's, in that sense, that's where the carryover comes from, and it's so obvious. I mean, you can't miss it, but the continuity of the blending of things is what's really crucial, and that's what I'm really impressed with Shane and Andy Dickerson, who came in with him as well, and our own coaches just to open up their brains, to how we can expand and do things that we're excited about doing. So, so there continues to be carryover. Like I said, I think that's crucial. But it's the accentuating the positives and the newness and all the little thises and that's that are really exciting to see come together.
And one quick point: how do you think Shane and that system can help with the issue of the pass protection?
Well, that's. Big focus of that is about the rhythm and the rhythm of the ball coming out, and that's commitment to helping pass protection. That's the quickness that the ball is released. It's the reads for the quarterback. It's the mix of the protections that we use, so we can't get zeroed in on. It's the utilization of the players. So that they're ready for the ball to be out quick. Russ has always been good at all rhythms, but I've always felt he's at his best when we're really quick with the football and it's coming out of his hand in a hurry. And then he has those enormously long plays that he extends, with his movement and all that. It gives us a real great variety and style to our game. So we're trying to accentuate really the rhythm part of it in how that fits with the play actions and the things that we love to do down the field and be explosive with.
Michael Sean?
For either of you guys, did you guys have conversations with KJ Wright's people about bringing him back at all during free agency?
Yeah, I get it.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, we talked to KJ's people before free agency, but quite frankly, there were so many coaches on our staff that are, that were on our staff that are at different places. We thought he would be signed by now, and you have the draft coming up. There's several different phases. We look at it in free agency. There's several different phases to it. We look at this being what we call phase 2, which is right around draft time. And so I think a lot of teams are going to see what they do in the draft, and then kind of come around to some of these veterans that are still available in free agency. We have the utmost amount of respect for him. He's done a ton for this organization. He's a great person, great leader. But yes, I mean, we have been in contact. I know Pete met with him. Yeah, I had a really good sit down with them just the other day to bring it all together. Where we're coming from. We needed to hear where he's coming from, and talk about the future and what's possible moving forward. So we're right on nose to nose on this deal, and like John said, KJ's been one of the classiest players you could ever expect to have in your program, and been a fantastic player. And so the door is not closed to us of what we're doing moving forward. So we're very clear about that, and feel really good about where we are with Cage.
Thanks.
Bob?
Yeah, John, I just wanted to ask you, since we last talked to you, you re-signed a contract as well to stay with the Seahawks for about 3 or 4 more years. Just sort of curious what went into that. I mean, obviously you're happy here and content here and want to take this further for quite a while.
Absolutely. My wife Tracy and I love it here, and I love working with Pete, Jody, Chuck, the whole organization. We've had a great run, but we just keep talking about no finish line, right? And so we're just, the thing I try to convey to everybody all the time is that, like, our team building does not stop. It really feels like it hasn't stopped since the moment Pete and I got together, which is unbelievably 12 years ago already. So, yeah, we're very appreciative and looking forward to the future.
Yeah, I think this was a great move by the organization for John and I to continue to just try to bank on all of the stuff that we've done in the past, and for John to be in the position he's in with so much so much input, so much vision. I mean, he continues to show it year in and year out how we continue to stay on top of this thing, and we know how hard it is to win that last game, and we're battling every time out to put us back in that position again. But I know that with working with John, it just makes me better, and he's a great administrator, a great partner, and we partner on everything down to every single detail, and we're very lucky to have John. Thrilled that he chose to stay with us.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, bro.
Tim?
Hey, John, one of the structures it seemed like you took with some of your free agent signings this year was to add void years onto the contracts. I'm wondering, what was the thinking on that, and why is that something that you as an organization haven't really done in the past?
Well, I mean, unique times basically, demand, unique opportunities and things you have to take advantage of, right? So with the cap going down, I mean, there's a lot of teams that we're basically right in the middle of the pack, and so there's a lot of teams that had a ton of cap room, and there's a lot of teams that, were in a lot of cap trouble, and so I think you saw a lot of those voidable years being added, and we just felt like if there was a year to do it, this was the appropriate year.
And as a follow-up, is there a danger in that long term?
Sure, you want to stay as disciplined as you possibly can so that you have the flexibility to build your team through. This is just our philosophy. This isn't like every team in the National Football League, but for us, we'd like to stay as disciplined as we possibly can, and so that we can have the flexibility to continue to build our team throughout the whole year. Again, like I said earlier, this doesn't stop. You want to be able you want to be able to put yourself in a situation where you can acquire a Dwayne Brown or a Carlos Dunlap or Diggs or just things that may pop up. And this coming summer, we don't know what's going to happen June 1st, right? We don't know if what's going to happen with specific teams, what their cap casualty situation is going to look like. So we just need to be pliable, and this was a way for us to do it. But yes, you don't want to do too much of it.
Hey, in case you guys don't ask the question, then throw it out there a little bit. I know you said some stuff, Johnny, about the guys that we retained, from this, in this roster. But let's just take a chance to go through a couple guys. To get Tyler Lockett to sign to a big deal and for the future is a fantastic get. This guy's been such a great player for us, and he's such a great part of our program and all. He and Russ have a chemistry that's just unmatched, and that's a beautiful thing that we got done. Went out and acquired Gabe Jackson. Was a really great acquisition for us to bring his experience and his toughness and his leadership into the offensive line. Getting Ethan back too, which we didn't know if we were going to get Ethan back to come back to center. Where he gets his second year to come back and compete to be that number one center, and he'll be battling with Kyle as well, and so we're thrilled about that. Chris Carson, to get Chris back for us is such an important factor because we love his style of play. We all have seen how great of a football player he is. But this was a time when we might not have been able to get it done. But again, with tremendous faith in the program on Chris's part, and then also the ability of John and Matt to get that done. That's a big deal. And Poona Ford for sure. Poona's been an emerging star for us up front, and to get his deal done, and he's with us for a while and all that. There's just been a lot of things. Carlos also getting Carlos Dunlap back was. That was a big deal. I know we mentioned it, but it's worth mentioning again. He was just getting started with us, and he loves being here. He loves being part of the program. He's got a big spirit, got the big somersault after his sacks we all look forward to. Can't wait for the 12s to have a chance to see that in person. Yeah, Benson Mayoa too. Benson brings this experience and flexibility, outside edge rushing. He can play outside backer in the Leo position for us. All of those moves have been really important to us, and we're really excited about it. Again, Cedric Ogbuyi back too was a big deal. I need to give him the premier opportunity to compete to start this year. So in last year's mode, we got a little bit out of whack there. I'm anxious to give him a great chance because he's got great, upside to his play. And then Gino as well. Yeah, Gino coming back. That's a big deal. Gino is such a part of this program. He's such a great support system for Russ, for one, but he's a fantastic talent too. And when he gets his chance to play, he'll be ready to go. So all of those things are just really important gets for us, and it'll continue. We're still going. I mean, the Jamal move is big, and there's some other stuff coming up. You'll see in the next couple of days too. Our special teams unit is in a fantastic part of our team, getting Nick Ballore to come back to us, who is a leader in that area. I just think these are all really exciting things moving forward. And our team that was not able to be shared with the 12s last year in person, maybe we get a chance. Hopefully we can get that done. Who would ever have thought we'd win all those games at home, and here we are in the playoffs, and we don't have the 12s with us, because we needed them, and they would have been a factor and might have caused a difference in that game and all that. So anyway, I just want to make sure those things get said because we're really, really thrilled about it. Kel Witherspoon is another guy too I didn't mention.
Yeah, a lot of new guys.
The new guys that come in, to help us as well.
Yep.
Kerry Hyder and all that. So we're really pumped up about it, and we'll add to it as best we can in the draft. I don't mean to be wrapping this thing up, but I'm kind of doing that if we can. So Pierre Desir, another guy
was with us and started at 30.
Anyway, so those are all of those names are all significant guys that can be a factor, and we'll see how it works out. But we're really pumped about it.
Corbin.
Back to Q&A.
Hey, this question's really for both of you guys. Looking at the roster right now, only 3 players still signed from the 2016 and 2017 draft class. Is that something that's concerning to you guys at all, not being able to retain more players on second contracts, or does that just go with the territory of having a high-priced quarterback and dealing with the pandemic?
It just goes. It just goes with our philosophy of building based upon what our team looks like, and not necessarily we have to know what the landscape of the National Football League looks like, but we also our first step, we have to be real with each other and how we how we evaluate the team and know who's competing with who and who may be an ascending player or who may be a descending player. And I think one of the real strengths that Pete and I have had over the years is that we listen to each other and we know where we are. And so just because you're drafted at a specific spot or you're signed for a certain amount of money, it does not, with Pete's, always compete philosophy, that doesn't mean you're always locked in. And so, it depends on, how much guaranteed money you get into with some players and all that. That's definitely going to make you're going to have to make roster decisions based on that. But other than that, we've been wide open.
Yeah, I think it does speak to the confidence of the guys coming in the program that can take guys' spots, even though they were draft picks. We're not keeping guys just because we drafted them because we're trying to save face or whatever. We're going to do what we think is the right thing for that specific situation. And John and we've worked our way through those. And I think it's a strength of ours in our ability to do that. And sometimes, you get a guy that comes from somewhere else, or he's a free agent or something, and he's better than the other guy. And let me say this too, that since I'm kind of on a roll today, what I would like to do different in this camp is that I didn't feel like, because of the format of last camp, where we didn't have the off season and we didn't have preseason games, and the evaluations of players were so uniquely different than it's ever been, that I don't feel like I gave our guys on the roster, throughout the depth of the roster, the best opportunity I could have for their statement for where they fit into this club. And that's something that I've already told our guys that's happening. And that means that guys that are starting are going to get guys battling for their spots, and everybody's got a battle. It's going to make the guys that are the starters get better or get beat. And guys deserve that opportunity, and I want to make sure that I do a better job of that, because I felt like because we were tweaking to catch up with last offseason, that if you remember, we kept our offensive line almost intact the whole time. We just wanted to give them the opportunity to emerge. I don't feel like that right now. I feel different about that, and I want to make sure that Cedric has a chance, and that Cody Barton knows that he's got a chance, and BBK and the guys that have been on this roster, they want to get their shot to play too, and they deserve their opportunity. And across the board, and you're going to see Ethan Posick, battling with Kyle, and you're going to see some really great battles waged, which I think is just going to make us better. And I'm excited, committing that to our players, and that's why I don't mind saying it out loud. And I don't mind making.
Ethan was a huge get.
Right.
Re-signing Ethan as well.
Yeah. So it's kind of the theme coming back this time around. It's a little bit different than it was last year. Last year was uniquely different. This year is different again, but we're going to have preseason games, and we'll have a better opportunity to give guys a competitive chance. And with it, really, that statement will go out to the guys that we acquire this weekend. And we want them to have a clear shot as well, because it'll make us better. Competition always brings out the best in us.
Okay, a few more. John Boyle.
Yeah, John, I think everyone looks at your guys' history and just the pick total and assumes, okay, they're going to trade back, try to add more picks. Is that sitting at 56 versus, say, 26? Is that a harder thing to plan for, that there's just that many more picks and that much more uncertainty leading up to your pick?
I would say that no, not necessarily. It's just it depends on the draft, and it depends on how other teams feel about the draft as well. Everybody looks at it differently, right? So everybody usually sees the first round pretty similar, and maybe half the second round or 3/4 of the second round. But then really it really starts jumping all over the place, and so that's been our experience. And so it's just a matter of whether how aggressive teams are and what their needs are, and how they view certain players, and if they think they have to jump other teams to get to a certain spot. But it's something that really the best way to describe it, I guess, is that once you're in the process of a draft, you can kind of see things unfolding. So to sit here beforehand and say we're not necessarily planning on specific things. It's just kind of your work should come into play, and the board should fall a specific way, and so if all of a sudden you have several players that with a pick that's coming up here, and you go back maybe 10, 12 spots or something like that, it could be worth it, and you're taking a chance that you're still going to get one of those players. So my point is, I guess, that you're not, when you start out, philosophically you may want to do that, but it's not necessarily an easy thing, and it's not something that is necessarily pre-planned.
So you're saying there's a chance?
So always a chance.
So,
and then Pete, I had one non-football one for you. You guys had Dr. Sanjay Gupta and talking to the team in the video. Just what'd you take out of that? What'd that do for your players?
Well, first off, I'm such a fan of the doctor. I've watched him all year. Guiding everybody across the landscape of what's going on with the pandemic and all, and so. We wound up communicating during this the whole ordeal, and he's helped us quite a bit. So we finally got him a chance to come in and visit with our players to kind of update everybody what's going on with COVID, and where we should know things are going, what direction, and all that. But primarily we talked about vaccines and vaccinations and the discussion about that. And so he led us through that discussion with great depth and clarity, and really, he just has it nailed. But then opened up Q&A for the players and the coaches, and everybody started firing questions at him. He gave us his phone number, and he's had taken calls, and he's taken messages and all that, and he's responded to to a bunch of guys. So it's been really impacting. And the point is that we all know that vaccinations, there's a question here of whether people want to do it or not, and you have a choice to make here. And so we're advocating, obviously, that we want our guys to get vaccinated because we want them to be safe, and we want them to have all of the benefits of good health and all of that. But it is an individual decision. And so in this case, Dr. Vin was remarkably on point, and becomes a great resource to us moving forward. So I hope everybody will take into consideration. His thoughts are so clear, and he's advised so many people throughout this whole process. He's been on point throughout. He has not been off subject at all throughout it, and so we have a great ally there.
Curtis?
Yeah, guys, I was just curious. Two quick things. Are you disappointed that the relationship with Jaron Reed seemed to fall apart, and he moved on from you guys in the way that kind of came about, at least as it was reported and such? And then the second part is, how is Darrell Taylor coming along his process, and how last year went and looking back and not being able to go for you throughout all of last season.
Yeah, yes, we were disappointed. Ended up being a casualty situation with Jaron. We talk about this every year with you guys, that there's going to be really tough decisions that we have to make along the way. We wish that Jaron would have worked with us a little bit, but it wasn't in the cards. He made a decision. And then, in regards to Daryl, I just saw him in the hallway today. He seems to be doing a great job. Talked to our trainers. He's working his tail off, and he's really excited to get going.
It looks like if everything just continues to progress, that he'll be full go in any of the work that we go at, and so that's a big positive plus for us, and we're excited about it. He's here in the building every day, so that really helps us know, that he's being taken care of really well, and all of the best should lie ahead for him.
Joe?
Just putting a bow on the Russ conversation. You've mentioned a couple of times you knowing the truth and you having kind of peace with that, knowing the truth regardless of what's happening in the media. What's the potential harm, or maybe what keeps you from sharing that truth publicly and saying, hey, you guys can put a pin in all these rumors and stuff going around because everything's all good. Russ is our guy. It's kumbaya here in the building, and then we're moving forward to 2021.
Well, Joe, what I would say about it is that the fact that a guy expresses, his emotions, that he's frustrated by something, and that becomes such a big story, and then he has to deal with bouncing back from those comments as the media goes ahead and tries to investigate more and all of that. There was just a process to that had to take place, and right from the beginning, I was talking to Russ. We spent hours on the phone over this offseason talking, and we worked at stuff and understood the topics and the subjects, and so there really wasn't a problem, so. There's nothing to put the pin in to me, other than the fact that there was a couple things that he said, and he realized how volatile the simplest of responses are. Yeah, I'm frustrated. Well, okay, what is that? Well, I like whatever he said. Those comments became so big. It's a tremendous illustration for us and for people in the media and people in sports of how volatile, particularly when you're in that franchise player position, how volatile your words are and how powerful your words are and how careful you have to be so that you express the things that they get presented as you want them to. And so I think it was a great lesson to us, and it was for us, it was an effort in discipline of how to just deal through it and get through, because we're fine. And we've been fine we've been talking football and talking, the whole process. So that's what it was. Now, it's maybe frustrating to people that we didn't comment to help you get off the hook of where you thought things may be going, but that's part of just not playing the media conversation, and that I learned from Bud Grant a long time ago, so I'm strict about it. I'm really strict. I said, you will not hear a peep out of me, and you can do that too, and just let the stuff that's being said go. But it's hard. It's hard for people, and not everybody can do that. It takes real discipline to do that, and it's a learning process. And hopefully Russ will always be better for it because he's been through a lot of that, and hopefully other guys can learn from that as well. And the power comes from knowing really what the truth and knowing what's going on. I'm not sharing the truth. The truth is he wasn't getting traded, and then he's on our roster, and he's on he signed up for a long time around here, and anything that could ever take place was so far out there that it could ever happen. It was not even worth considering, so unfortunately that's kind of how it went. And so but it was if anything happened, it wasn't a rule number 1 violation. It might have been a rule number 2 violation, which is no whining, no complaining, no excuses. And where you say something that kind of gives you something that can be challenged. And so that's coach talking, but that's how we dealt through all of it. And anyway, so I don't know what else to tell you but that. That's how it was. It just had a big life of its own, and you guys had to just kind of try to respond to it and speculate and figure out what the essence was. The essence was nothing was happening, and that's how John handled it throughout, and I handled it throughout, and really Russ did the best of the visibility to do that.
Yeah, Joe, the way I would describe it is basically that Pete did a phenomenal job of talking through everything, with Russ, and we're not going to let, outside, forces or drama dictate how we react to things, and we haven't for a number of years now. So, again, we've had a lot going on here that has never become public. Some have not. I mean, we've had stories written, trying to dismantle our team, right before the season starts on several occasions. Do we respond to it? No, we don't.
John, not to make light of anything here, but did you ever taste those maple bars? Holy cow.
That's awesome.
Two more.
That's 12 years ago.
Two more. Greg?
Was Jen around then? I don't know if she was or not.
Joe Fan was playing with his Legos.
Sorry.
Pete, your quote was, "They really are irresistible."
Yeah.
I remember that.
They really are irresistible.
Pete or John, how many players have been vaccinated? How many players do you expect to be vaccinated? And how much do you think that's integral to normal ops, both in your team and the NFL?
Yeah, we're not really. I don't know the numbers exactly. A number of guys have been, and I know that those that haven't been are all in consideration of whether it fits their, their makeup and all of that. We're encouraging guys. We would like guys to get vaccinated because we think it's the safest way to go, and we would like everybody to be vaccinated because life gets better when you do. And but we'll see what happens with that. I don't have the numbers for you now.
Is the NFL telling you that to get back to normal and in-person ops and practices and in-person meetings and all of that, it's going to require vaccination? Are they giving incentives like NBA and other people?
I don't know about if
ongoing process, really.
Yeah, it's the information continues to come to us, Greg. They made a pretty big statement 2 weeks ago, leading into this portion of Phase 1, to give us some guidelines that we hadn't received before then. And so we've operated with those, and we understand those. We're moving forward. I know the league is in favor of people getting vaccinated. They would like us all to be vaccinated. They think that's the best way to go, and they're really following the science and making a clear statement about that. However they handle that, they'll handle that. But the message is clear to us that, and they're stating it in that the freedoms that you gain because you are a vaccinated person, or just can make life, more normal than it has been, under the other conditions. So, we've worked very closely with the league on all this stuff. We've supported really everything that whenever they, like I said before, whenever they bring something up, it always helps us get to the next point of emphasis so that we can continue to message well. And we've had such good communication here. We've had such success here. The vaccination thing, I think, will follow in that for most people. I don't know if we'll get everybody, but we'll get most of the people. I think they'll find their way to it because it's the right thing for everybody. And so hopefully we can get that done.
Art, bring us home.
Bring it home.
Pete, you brought back Carl Smith to your coaching staff.
Yeah.
Why?
It's a really clear decision. When I could talk him into it, I got him to come back. He went home and went down closer to his home where his wife comes from and the family and all that. It was a family decision with Tracy on the staff there in Houston with their babies and all the stuff that was going on. He had a big, really heartfelt decision to go when he went there. Well, I never let up on him and finally got him to come back. What Carl Smith brings to me is a tremendous background and personal background and experience together. We've been through so much together in so many games. We worked together all the way back at NC State. There's just a long background that we've had, and we see eye to eye on our football. And when we don't, we figure it out. And he's a great asset to me, and always has been, as an in-game assistant, and as well as everything else we do. So it's like getting the other part of my brain back. I really appreciate him being part of this. Carl is the kind of guy that will tell me stuff like other people might not say it. He has a way of doing it and a way of making the point to me that's extremely valuable to keep me from being crazed and half mad out there some of the time. And so I'm really thrilled that he's back with us, and we're having fun and looking forward to a big season coming up.
Okay, thank you, everyone. One last question. Curtis, are you in the International Space Station?
No, this would be KJR headquarters, Dave.
Okay.
That's Curtis?
There you go. Turn down the AC a little bit there, bro.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.